The 2021 NBA draft is in the books, and although the Lakers added some two-way players, more on those guys coming up, we can't really do draft grades for Lakers. They didn't make a pick this year. So instead, we'll mention the two-way players and do Russell Westbrook trade grades, since that was I will say, the biggest move of the NBA draft night and even maybe the NBA offseason. In case you missed it or live under a rock or whatever, the Lakers made a stunning splash before the NBA draft got going as they went out and acquired Russell Westbrook and 2 future second-rounders, 2024 and 2028. The Wizards, meanwhile, get Kyle Kuzma, Montrezl Harrell, Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, a first-round pick, number 22 overall, which was later dealt to the Pacers, but that's a whole different thing, and you guys don't care about it. What you care about is Russ going to L.A. And this move is made even more so intriguing, A, by the fit, which we'll go into plenty of in-depth stuff here as well, but also what the Lakers did not do. They were apparently, and looks like Woj got beaten out by Shams on this one, seemed like they were on the verge of getting Buddy Hield for Kuzma and Kuzma and Harrell, and I like that move a lot. Instead, they flipped, and they go get Russell Westbrook, giving them a big 3 to an extent, so not the same as maybe the Nets, as Westbrook will now take over as this team's point guard, alongside LeBron James, Anthony Davis as the big stars out in L.A., a very expensive trio for Los Angeles. And a bit of an intriguing fit as well, because Russell Westbrook as a regular season player, as a high-volume, triple-double monster, kind of like LeBron James to that extent, is an intriguing fit. 22.2 points per game, 11 or more boards and assists. Not a great shooter. Now, he'll have open looks in L.A., of course. Might not be the best shooter, and that's a bit of a red flag for L.A. We'll get more in depth on that later on. But he is going home. I mean, remember, he went to UCLA. Now he's back in L.A., this time with the Los Angeles Lakers. It's such an intriguing move because I've long thought the Lakers got to take the LeBron approach. Get shooters. They're always open with LeBron and AD. They didn't get a shooter. Instead, they got a secondary and or primary ball handler in Russell Westbrook, making for a rather intriguing fit, which we'll, again, get into more in depth here. I know this is a controversial trade, so I want you guys to be honest with me in the comment section. Grade the trade for LA. A, B, C, D, or F. Be honest. I'll be honest. So get your votes in for me right now. I'm giving this a C+. I will be honest and upfront. It is not as good as I would have liked a Buddy Hield trade. I would have preferred, if they'd been able to pull it off, the Lakers trade for Buddy Hield for Montrezl Harrell, Kyle Kuzma, and then they either keep their first-round pick or dump it or whatever, and they add another shooter, and they got more flexibility, too, from a salary cap and money perspective. It's not a disastrous trade. I still believe in Russ Westbrook. I think that he, LeBron, and AD are going to make for some fun moments. I just wonder if he's really the best fit for LA, although I will say this. He's an upgrade over Dennis Schroeder. Of that, I have no doubt. So more in depth now on this Russell Wilson trade. Or the Russell Westbrook. Wow, got football in my brain again. I'm sorry. I'm stupid. The number one concern here that I have is how Russell Westbrook and LeBron James, and Anthony Davis too, will all fit in together come playoff time. Moving Kuzma, Harrell, KCP in a first, it's not a big deal for me. Those were their top assets, but they played great in the playoffs. I just worry about Russ's fit in the postseason. Regular season, I actually think it makes a lot of sense in terms of being able to lighten the load for LeBron James. Russell Westbrook, even though he's entering his age 33 season, is able to do so much in terms of carrying the workload from a volume perspective. I mean, this is a guy who's averaged almost 20 shots per game over his NBA career, and that's even factoring in some limited workload early on in his career with the Thunder initially. But he's now on his fourth team in as many years, and the three-point shooting is a concern. 31.5% last year. His best year was 34.4 back when he was 28 years old with the Oklahoma City Thunder, when he averaged his first triple-double over an NBA season. He's not an efficient shooter. His shooting, three-point percentage-wise, is worse than Kyle Kuzma. And that's not a great thing for Golden State. Now, I'm not mad about moving on from Kuzma. I know you paid him. Look, the Pelicans wanted Ingram. I'm not bent out of shape over keeping Kuzma. You move him. Okay. Montrezl Harrell option actually helped you out to be able to pull off this deal, so thank you, Trez. KCP, I'll be honest, good riddance. He was so bad down the stretch in the postseason. Your job, if you're KCP, if you're Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, is truly sit in the corner and drain threes when you've got open looks repeatedly. Guess what KCP really struggled to be able to do? He wasn't particularly good in the playoffs as a shooter. I mean, we can go through this year. Yeah, in the against the Suns in the postseason, after his previous years being a 44% three-point shooter, a 42% three-point shooter, against the Suns, how about this, folks? 21.1% from deep. Now, he was, over his career, a 37% three-point shooter. But he was garbage against the Suns, and a big reason why that the Lakers struggled so much. So I don't mind dumping those guys. I just wonder if they got the right player. It's going to be intriguing from a lighter workload on LeBron. I get it, but they got to surround the rest of the roster better. More on that in a second. But if you guys want more Lakers videos, because they're not done. They still got about half a roster to fill out beyond just LeBron and Russ and AD. If you want updates, hit that big red button and subscribe today. That way you don't miss out on anything going on around the Los Angeles Lakers here at Chat Sports. If you haven't already, hit that big red button and subscribe. Now, the draft is over, but there are some two-way deals to get into here, beginning with Austin Reaves, the guard from Oklahoma. The Lakers had no draft picks, and despite that, they got the best available undrafted free agent based on Chase Sr.'s big board. I'm intrigued by this. Now, he's not a great three-point shooter, but I am very surprised that Reaves went undrafted. I mean, they could have taken him in round one had they kept their pick, and it wouldn't have been that big of a surprise in the end. And that's very intriguing from that perspective. Reaves, not a great shooter, but he can score a little bit. He's a good free throw shooter that should be indicative of doing better as a shooter long term. If he can develop an outside shooting touch, this will be one of the best two-way deals we've seen in a long time. The other two-way deal pickup here was Joel, let me make sure I get the pronunciation correct here, Ayayi. That's close enough. Joel, out of Gonzaga here, as I'm going to call him, since I botched it like an idiot, and I'm the one who created the pronunciation guide. What a loser. Does offer more three-point shooting. Again, a bit of an older player, 21 years old. Got to kind of keep that one in mind for the Lakers. But this is an intriguing upside player for the Lakers. Two, I think, in terms of the additions, again, two of the top guys on our leftover big board here. Good team player. Again, two-way guy. You're not expecting that much of an impact immediately, but I think both of these additions are very intriguing for the Los Angeles Lakers. Now, they still got to figure out the shooting guard spot. I don't think it's going to be overnight, Reaves or anything like that. They got to find an addition there from that perspective. There's upside here. I think that makes sense. Between Austin Reaves, between Joel Ayayi, I think there's a lot of intrigue here for the Lakers. I will make one last note, by the way. Literally just came across the wire 2 minutes ago from when we filmed this. The Lakers, for training camp only, are bringing in Mac McClung for a training camp deal. Will he make the roster? I don't know. Maybe he's a G League guy, something in that capacity. But it's an interesting pickup by the Lakers who, maybe he could end up slotting into some type of backup guard role. Not every UDFA is going to be Alex Caruso, but I'm sure they'll all somehow be compared in the end.